Outside a wrecked coffee shop in southern Baghdad, funeral banners display the names of 10 young people killed in a recent bomb attack. Across Iraq, cafes and restaurants are closing as they become targets of terror attacks. Former regulars at the cafe mourn the loss of their friends and of normal life.
We used to meet here to chat and laugh. Young people as beautiful as flowers were killed on the spot at the same time. Why? What was their guilt?
Those are questions being asked by families across Iraq. The spike in violence is different from that seen at the height of the Sunni-Shia conflict in 2007, says Haider Al-Khoui, Associate Fellow at London-based policy institute Chatham House.
What's happening now is not the same thing. The overwhelming majority of the violence is being carried out by Al-Qaeda against both Shia and Sunni Iraqis.
And, says Al-Khoui, the response of the Shia-led government makes the situation worse.
Al-Qaeda is operating in Sunni-dominated areas. The Iraqi government's response is sweeping security measures in these areas. That's increasing the resentment ordinary Sunnis, not Al-Qaeda, feel towards the government, and that in itself enables Al-Qaeda to be even stronger.
Iraq's government has made another key strategic error, says Colonel Richard Kemp, former commander of British forces in Afghanistan and Iraq, and now Senior Associate Fellow at the Royal United Services Institute.
They've also moved away, I think, from the awakening councils, which were local Sunni militants who had been opposing NATO and opposing American and British forces, and were then kind of bought off and turned around and became probably the most single effective tool of the counterinsurgency conflict that was going on. Secondly, the removal of some very, very effective American intelligence networks and strike capability from special forces and aircraft.
The civil war in neighbouring Syria is exacerbating Iraq's problems, says Haider Al-Khoui.
And enabled jihadists to have a transnational ambition in the region, and hence Al-Qaeda in Iraq officially merged with Al-Qaeda in Syria. So it enabled them this flexibility and ability to maneuver.
Iraq's Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki visited Washington last week to request US assistance in countering Al-Qaeda. But Iraq's leader must take some responsibility for the political stalemate that has allowed the terror group to regain a foothold, says Colonel Kemp.
He spent most of his time in charge of the country, accumulating power to himself and resisting the demands by the Sunnis and the Kurds to decentralise power and actually almost as critically decentralise economic power as well.
Iraqi lawmakers have voted through a law paving the way for a general election next April. Officials hope it could shake up the political deadlock and check Iraq's dangerous slide back towards sectarian war. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.